Hi everybody. So in my recent video, I pretty much reviewed that how things pretty much proceed in Pakistan, and throughout Musharraf's years, Pakistan was pretty much ready to step forward with Israel. However, after Musharraf's death, a little bit after that, things were not the same because Al-Qaeda and the Taliban and the Afghanistan took over with 9/11, and things became a little bit difficult in the Muslim world, and we all know they kind of became untrustworthy because of the political terrorism movement by the Al-Qaeda and the Taliban from Afghanistan, right? We all know that. So as the years went by, it has tried, I wouldn't say it didn't because it made successful things throughout the years. It's just it couldn't open up the borders yet. Now, if anybody remember that there was a documentary by leaders that if Saudi Arabia moves forward, Pakistan's gonna pretty much open up its borders for the Israelis too. And that was a documentary when given by one of Imran Khan's politics. Now, recently from Sharaka, a whole bunch of Pakistani journalists went through Israel and they weren't even required to have a visa. They pretty much went, and however, Iran started bombing them on social media and their agency. Now, everybody wonders that what role does the Iran have? Iran's war is with the Iranians and its people because Khomeini. Now, what should I say about Khomeini? Khomeini is somebody who believes in power. I know some people don't really take me seriously in that, but he is. He's all about the power, and he wants to make his thing very, very successful in power. Now, throughout the years, Iran is the only country that's been constantly warring with many nations, and he has many countries supporting it, like Russia, and other countries in the Muslim world like Yemen, Syria, Libya, and these places who are backed up support by Iran for many years, including Iraq. Now, saying that Iraq, if throughout the years, I don't know why leaders predict that Iraq is going to back out. But if you look at the country and just take one vision look at it, the country's atmosphere is terrible. It's not clean. It's nothing like that because it was too busy warring throughout the years. Now, this has nothing to do with Islam because Islam cannot solve the country problem with its people and the money required that the people need. Islam is just a phase in a political movement, how the leaders use it. You need to name your business something to get around. So like that's pretty much what they name it. Islamic organization, but that's not the thing itself. Like I said, can Islam resolve the country problem with the citizens and how the citizens are stuck for decades being ripped off with money, being ripped off with food, being ripped off with their jobs, being ripped off with so many things. Now, these are the things that people really need to review about. So I'm going to show a sample in here. How did life begin and how did things become?
President General Pervez Musharraf has died after a prolonged illness at the age of 79. According to Pakistani media, the retired politician and four-star general of the Pakistani army passed away at a hospital in Dubai, where he lived in self-imposed exile. Musharraf ruled Pakistan for nearly a decade after seizing power in the coup d'etat in 1999. He allied with the United States and oversaw rapid economic growth while attempting to usher in social liberal values in conservative Muslim country. He enjoyed strong support for many years. His greatest threat, Al-Qaeda and other militant Islamists, tried to kill him at least 3 times. And joining me now in studio is our senior international affairs correspondent, Owen Alterman. Owen, tell us about Musharraf's legacy.
The legacy, obviously a complicated one, Sarah, just much like the country that he led, including, by the way, and we'll get to this in a moment, in terms of his attitudes toward Israel. Pakistan, an incredibly complex society with an incredibly complex set of politics. And Pervez Musharraf was charged with leading that complex country, with that complex politics and the complex society at the most complex of times. Over the course of the aftermath of the 9/11 attacks and what that meant for relations with the United States, for relations with the Taliban in Afghanistan, and first and foremost, relations within his own society. And he threaded the needle as best he could. He had these proclivities and these inclinations to try to have Pakistan have a close relationship with the United States, have the country try to modernize to some degree, or more importantly, to secularize to some degree. But at the same time, he found himself caught in the currents of his own society and the constraints of his own society about what he could do. And like so many politicians, needed to balance all of these impulses. And when you read the obituaries, seem to have satisfied no one by trying to please everyone. And obviously, that's not uncommon in a situation like that. As for us in Israel, Pervez Musharraf took some of the more courageous steps at trying to initiate contacts between Pakistan and Israel openly, not clandestine, not through intelligence agencies. Met then Prime Minister Ariel Sharon in 2005 and initiated contacts with him in the aftermath of the Gaza disengagement. In subsequent interviews, in an interview with Haaretz in 2012, in I believe a conference panel or an interview in 2019, repeated his commitment, that his belief that Pakistan should have full relations with Israel and normalize with Israel. And so it reminds us, there was a whole world of open contacts between Israel and Muslim countries before the Abraham Accords. We tend to forget that. The Abraham Accords have eclipsed those contacts for understandable reasons, but there was a whole web and a whole history of those contacts before. And again, it returns us to the question of whether Pakistan could join the Abraham Accords countries. We see how complicated the question is by looking at Musharraf's legacy. But again, on one hand, obviously an important initiative for Israel to try to have contact with as many Muslim countries as it can, particularly a big and important one like Pakistan. But on the other hand, how complicated and unstable that normalization would be, given how complicated and how unstable Pakistan is.
Absolutely fascinating. He also had close ties with the United States. Tell us about that relationship.
Of course. And again, that feeds into what we were just saying. He had close ties with the Bush administration, who was even apparently nicknamed Musharraf by his opponents inside Pakistan. And again, at a very difficult time in the aftermath of 9/11, when the United States was fighting in Afghanistan. And when on one hand, Pakistan is a U.S. ally with important elements of the military supporting the United States, and Pervez Musharraf, because of his own ideology, beyond his military background, wanted to align Pakistan with the United States, but at the same time, Pakistan having this ethnic sympathy and this ethnic connection, in some cases, an ideological and philosophical connection with Taliban across the border in Afghanistan, and caught between these two extremes to the point where Osama bin Laden, including reportedly during Musharraf's tenure, was in hiding in Abbottabad, Pakistan, where he was ultimately caught and killed by the United States. So again, Pervez Musharraf, on one hand, trying to bring his country into line with the United States in the war on terrorism of the Bush years, but again, in fraught with his own society and the tensions and the contradictions of his own country, was unable to do that entirely. And again, one looks at the obituary, seemed to have pleased no one, and tried as best he could to further what he thought were his country's interests and his own ideology and philosophy as best he could, including on one of many sensitive subjects, the subject of Israel.
Absolutely. And comparing the Pakistan under Musharraf versus today, it's a very different reality. Owen Alterman, thank you very much.
Could be supplying 155mm shells to Israel. 155mm shells are the same artillery pieces that Israel has been firing at Hamas positions near the Gaza border. The report on the social media platform claims that a British plane first flew from Bahrain to Noor Khan base at Rawalpindi in Pakistan, and then again from the Pakistani Air Force base to Bahrain. The plane then left for Duqm, a city in Oman, en route to Cyprus. Now, from there on, the weapons were exported to Israel. Experts
Almost 60 years ago, my mother told me that, one day I hope you can go to the Dome of the Rock and visit Israel. That was 60 years ago. So I'm certainly very happy that I got this opportunity to visit Israel.
I didn't know what to expect coming here because the media always portrays this place to be very dangerous. And I wouldn't have been brave enough, I think, to come on my own because of all the misconceptions I've had. And for me, I'm not only eager now to come back, but I'm going to come back with my family. And, I'm going to especially tell people that this is a country you cannot miss. And the amount of things you can learn here and the amount of things to appreciate here, I think you can appreciate nowhere else in the world.
I wanted to see for myself whether what we hear is true or it's not true, and I mean, we are just blown away. I'm very pleasantly surprised. I've had the most wonderful experience. I feel I'm amongst my brothers and sisters and my family around me.
We were not hearing any good things about here, about the people, about the government, about anything. I came here, my perspective was totally changed.
When the Abrahamic Accords were signed, at that time I was not very sure about its success because I felt that the positions on both sides are so polarized that it will be terribly difficult to bring the two peoples together. But now that I have come here and I've seen what Israel is and what they're thinking among not only the political leaders, like in the Knesset we met the members, I think there is nothing that should stop the Muslim community or the Arabs particularly to make peace with Israel. What Sharaka has done by catching on to the concept of Abrahamic Accords and pursuing this by bringing in people together is very, very important. It has certainly changed my thinking completely.
But if you come to Israel and you do nothing except one thing, that should be to visit Yad Vashem. Honestly, I never understood the depth, the meaning of never again. And as I leave Israel with the understanding that the people, the Jewish people, went through terrible, terrible experience in Holocaust, and that experience can happen with other people of the world. And we need to stop that, and to stop that, we need to fully understand what happened.
The visit at Yad Vashem, it shook me up to the core. I had to many times stop myself from crying. No one was without tears. It made me felt the responsibility to keep the hope and to say never again.
The smiles in people's eyes when they heard like we're Muslims, Pakistanis, Americans, and the hugs we got and the thank you that so many Israelis walked up to us and said, thank you for doing this. By coming here, I was able to share the same experience and increase the knowledge and the education of the people that are with me. Building peace is good for the world. Why is it so difficult? Why do we have to demonize Israel? I know that this is a start of a beautiful conversation, of a beautiful exchange of ideas, but we need to grow this.
Good too. Now the conclusion is, and the way things work, because in the Pakistani society, they're used to following Saudi Arabia, but the countries that they fear, just like Saudi Arabia fears Iran, Pakistan fears Afghanistan. That's where the Taliban and everything started. Although Pakistan has helped United States get stuff back from the Taliban, and it also helped Israel during October 7th, provide weapons under the table. Now, I know many people have asked me that why does Jordan not do anything? And my advice to people is not that Jordanians are in jail, and it's not that they can't do anything. If they lift their hand to participate in the war, people need to understand that their neighbors are so close that they can kill them. They can kill them because Palestinians do live in Jordan, and if they shake hands with Israel, there's a slight possibility Palestinians will create chaos in their area, and that's what Jordan fears. It's nothing related to Jew hatred or things like that. Let's say Jordan lets a U.S. citizen in, and if you're a Jew from America, you have American passport, not an Israeli passport, American passport. America passport has a free trespass, and you're a Jew. Now, Jordanians will let you pass as an American citizen, but as a ethnicity, it cannot change the program because Palestinians live there, and changing the program into freedom and welcoming Jews into their space means chaos because the Palestinians, well, they're going to come after them. That why'd you do that? You know what, like make their story up and, well, sabotage Jordan. Okay? Everything's from up here. Everything's from up here, not because some things are from up here, how the visions and business minds work. So that's why Jordan cannot do anything. It's just not strong enough. It's not. It's like this portion of a country in middle of many places. Now, I'm going to be reviewing a little bit about Iran after. Iran's war is with the Iranians and how life began and how the Iranian leaders believe in power. People don't believe me on this, but it's true. Iran believes in power. It has nothing to do with it. It wants to control all over Middle East. It has nothing to do with anybody. It wants to rule, control all Arab lands. However, if you were to look at a map, there's one Jewish state in the middle, and it's sitting over there throughout the years. In order to rule all of the Arab lands, it has to knock out one Jewish state, which is his biggest comeback. It has to eliminate the Jewish state in order to be the ruler to all Arab lands. But I said this before too, that the deeper war goes, the Saudi Arabia territory will get hit, and Yemen unexpectedly did hit it. I literally said that like months ago. So Iran's this little Zionist regime thing, it's because Iran wants to rule all over the Middle East. It wants to be the ruler of all. And that is Khomeini's big dream. That's why this Zionist regime was created, to knock out the Jewish state. But that doesn't work in the real world. Once you figure out the statistics and things like that, you will wake up your eyes and you will pretty much think for a minute, okay, this is crazy. It is crazy. It's not normal. But like, if you look, not most of the Arabs, like this is what I got recommendations from India, that the other Arab states, they're not going to stand against Israel. They will rather stay neutral in their corners and in their spaces, not step forward. Like UAE already made a deal years ago. Morocco's okay. It did its compromise. And Saudi Arabia, it will step up eventually. I say this again because it's not going to war Israel either. Albania is not going to war. Qatar and Iraq are playing the victim card here. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Will Iraq stop supporting Iran? Will Qatar finally step down? I'm not sure about shaking hands with Israel. It was good at one point, but it provided its airlines, everything to help out. But until Hamas lives and this business exchange lives, nothing can be said. And that's pretty much what it is. And I want everybody to really understand that. So that's what I wanted to review in this video. And soon I'll be reviewing a little bit about Iran and how its business method really works. Take care, guys.